Namaskar. Today we will discuss something about the transportation and deposition by rivers. To begin with, we have to understand the various geological terms related to rivers. Stream refers to all water flowing in a channel regardless of the stream size. River is commonly used for any large stream fed by smaller ones called tributaries. Most streams run year round, even during times of drought, because they are fed by groundwater that seeps into the stream bed. Normally, a stream flows in its channel. The floor of the channel is called the bed and the sides of the channel are the banks. River processes are known as fluvial processes. Rivers are capable of performing a number of geological processes, namely, number 1, weathering. Weathering includes the breakup of rocks into particles of different sizes. Number 2, transportation. Transportation by which weathered and eroded particles are transported to large distances. And number 3, deposition, by which material transported by a river are deposited in a place different from where it formed and is termed as alluvium. Rivers flow from higher altitudes to lower levels. At higher altitudes, rivers or streams receive their supply of water from rainfall. Such areas are known as headwaters of a river and are characterized by steeper gradients that allow the streams to flow more rapidly. As the river flows downhill, it erodes the bedrock both vertically and laterally, deepening and widening its channel. Such a process is an attempt by the river to erode an area with a high elevation down to the lowest elevation to which the river flows. This low elevation is known as the base level of erosion. The ultimate base level of erosion is the sea level, the place where the river flows into the sea or ocean, dumping all its material, is known as the mouth of that river. Now we will understand the stages of a river. A quick examination of the longitudinal profile of a river reveals that a river evolves through 3 main stages. Number 1, an early stage where the erosion by the river prevails over its deposition. Number 2, an intermediate stage where the river begins to erode laterally, widening its channel and at the same time depositing material, thus maintaining some sort of equilibrium between erosion and deposition. And the number 3, a late stage close to the river's mouth where the gradient becomes shallow, the river loses its energy, thus depositing most or all of its material it is carrying. These 3 stages of the river are known as youth, maturity and old age respectively. All these can indeed be perceived as stages of evolution of a river. Every river possesses all 3 stages at the same time in different places. Moreover, part of a river in its mature or old stage may be rejuvenated to youth stage by uplift or tectonic movements. Now we come to the factors affecting the erosional and depositional powers of a stream. The factors affecting the erosional and depositional powers of a stream are: number 1, velocity; number 2, discharge; number 3, size and shape of the channel; and number 4, the stream gradient. Number 1, velocity. The velocity of a river or a stream affects the way it flows. In general, fluid flow is either laminar, where the flow lines remain parallel, or turbulent, where the lines cross each other. Higher velocities result in turbulent flow, whereas slow moving rivers are characterized by laminar flow. Clearly, the type of flow has a strong effect on the interaction between water and bedrock, and hence on the erosional and depositional powers of a stream. Velocity is not the only factor affecting the type of flow. Other factors include the roughness of the stream bottom and the depth of the stream channel. Number 2, discharge. The discharge of a stream is the volume of water that flows past a certain point in a specific unit of time. Discharge may be calculated by multiplying the cross-sectional area of a stream with the stream velocity. The discharge controls the nature and amount of load of a stream. A stream with a large discharge can carry a greater amount of particles as well as large size particles compared to a stream with a low discharge. Discharge affects the competence and capacity of a stream. Competence is the ability of a stream to carry large particles, whereas capacity is a measure of the number of particles that a stream can carry. The largest river in the world is the Amazon, with a discharge of 150,000 cubic meter per second. In contrast, the Mississippi River, the largest river in North America, has a discharge of about 17,500 cubic meter per second, approximately 1/9 that of the Amazon. A stream's discharge can change dramatically from month to month or even during a single day. A desert stream may dry up completely during summer, but become the site of a flash flood during a sudden thunderstorm. Stream velocity increases when discharge increases. Thus, a stream flows faster during flood even though its gradient is unchanged. The velocity of a stream also generally increases in the downstream direction because tributaries add to the discharge. Number 3, size and shape of the channel. Streams with narrow channels that are V-shaped in cross section are those in which erosion prevails, whereas those streams that are characterized by wider channels that are U-shaped in cross sections are the ones with a significant amount of deposits. Friction between flowing river and the stream channel slows current velocity. Consequently, water flows more slowly near the banks than near the center of a stream. The total friction depends on both the shape of a stream channel and its roughness. If streams of equal cross-sectional areas are compared, a semicircular channel has the least surface in contact with the water and therefore imposes the least friction. A rough channel creates more friction than a smooth one. Boulders in the stream bed increase turbulence and resistance, so a stream flows more slowly through a rough channel than a smooth one. Number 4 is stream gradient. It is one of the most important factors. Steep gradients result in fast flowing streams with strong erosional capabilities, whereas gentle gradients result in slower streams which may have depositional features. The lower Mississippi River has a shallow gradient and drops only 10 centimeters per kilometer of stream length. In contrast, a tumbling mountain stream may drop 40 kilometers or more per kilometer. Now we come to the sediment transport. Sediment transport is the movement of solid particles or sediments, typically due to the combination of the force of gravity acting on the sediment and the movement of the fluid in which the sediment is entrained. Sediment transport is important in the fields of sedimentary geology, geomorphology, civil engineering and environmental engineering. Knowledge of sediment transport is most often used to know whether erosion or deposition will occur, or the magnitude of this erosion or deposition and the time and distance over which it will occur. After a stream erodes soil or bedrock, it carries the sediment downstream in 4 forms, namely suspension, saltation, traction and solution. Suspension involves transport of small particles such as clay, silt and fine sand that are carried along without contact with the river bed. Such materials carried in suspension usually forms the greatest part of the total river. Even a slow stream can carry fine sediment. Clay and silt sized particles are carried by the flowing water through the action of water eddies. Such eddies result from the slower water velocities closer to the stream floors than in the center of the channel. Traction refers to the transport of larger particles like pebbles and boulders that roll or slide along the river bed. Such material constitutes the bedload of a river. Saltation refers to transport of sand-sized particles that bounce over the stream bed. When the river flows with sufficient velocity, the sand particles are suspended in water, but when the velocity of the river is not sufficiently high, the particles drop to the river bed. Solution transport refers to ions dissolved in water, which includes dissolved salts like calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate, sodium chloride, potassium chloride and calcium sulfate. Most streams carry the greatest proportion of sediment in suspension and less in solution, and the smallest proportion as bed load. A stream's ability to carry dissolved ions depends mostly on its discharge and its chemistry, not on its velocity. Thus, even still waters of lake or ocean contain dissolved substances, and that is why the sea and some lakes are salty. The world's two muddiest rivers, namely the Yellow River in China and the Ganges River in India, each carry more than 1.5 billion tons of sediment to the ocean every year. Now we pass on to the geological action of rivers during transport. In the river valley, larger boulders and pebbles roll along the valley floor and move downstream, while smaller fragments travel in suspension and saltation. The rolling boulders and pebbles naturally rub against the valley floor during their travel, while smaller fragments traveling in suspension or saltation periodically impinge upon the floor or river valley. Such impacts bring about mechanical wear and tear of the rocks in the base and banks of the channel. Such a process of mechanical breakdown of the bedrocks due to impacts is called abrasion. The effect of abrasion along the course of a river is the development of potholes, which are cylindrical or bowl-like depressions of dimensions ranging from a few centimeters to several meters. Potholes are formed on the river valleys made up of comparatively softer rocks when boulders and pebbles of harder rocks are caught up in the eddies of water and allowed to have a swirling action on the floor of the channel. An example is the potholes developed in the upper part of the Damodar river valley, excavated on the river bed, made up of weak sandstone due to abrasion by boulders and pebbles of hard gneissic rocks. The rolling boulders and pebbles, as well as the smaller fragments traveling in suspension, often collide with each other during their transport, and such a mutual collision causes further wear and tear in them, in addition to abrasion. The process of breakdown of the transporting rock fragments due to their mutual impact are described as attrition. The products of erosion, ranging in size from boulders and pebbles on the one hand to the fine sand, silt and clay on the other, are readily transported downstream along the flow of running water. In addition, the constituents taken into solution are also carried down with the flow. The total quantity of rock waste transported by the river in saltation, suspension and solution constitutes its load. Now we pass on to the factors governing river transport. The ability of a river to transport is governed by two main factors, namely capacity and competence. Capacity is the total potential weight of the sedimental load which streams can carry and varies with the particle size. Competence is the weight or size of the largest particles that the stream can possibly move along its bed. The capacity and competence of a river in turn depends on factors like size of the material, turbulence of the river and current velocity. Now we discuss the depositional features of rivers. A river will drop its load when the volume of the water decreases or the speed of flow decreases. A river volume decreases in dry regions with high evaporation or in the presence of permeable rocks and during receding flood waters. A river's speed decreases when it enters a lake or it enters a calm sea or it enters a gently sloping plain. During deposition, the heavier load will be deposited first and the finer particles and the dissolved load will be transported throughout the river system to the sea or the lake. Deposition is most prominent at the lower course of the river, where the gradient is gentle as the speed is slow and the load carried is at its maximum. A stream deposits its sediments in three environments. Number 1, channel deposits formed in the stream channel itself. Number 2, alluvial fans and deltas, where the stream gradient suddenly decreases as a stream enters a flat plain, a lake or a sea. And number 3, floodplain deposits that accumulates on a floodplain adjacent to the stream channel. Number 1, channel deposits are deposits that are formed in the channel itself. A bar is an elongate mound of sediment that forms in the stream channel and on the banks. They commonly form in one year and erode in the next year. Most streams flow in a single channel. In contrast, when stream flows in many shallow interconnecting channels, it is referred to as braided stream. A braided stream forms where more sediment is supplied to a stream than it can carry. Braided streams are common in both deserts and glacial environments because both produce abundant sediments. A desert yields large amount of sediments because it has little or no vegetation to prevent erosion. Glaciers grind bedrock into the fine sediment, which is carried by streams flowing from the melting ice. Number 2, alluvial fans and deltas. If a steep mountain stream flows onto a flat plain, its gradient and velocity decreases abruptly. As a result, it deposits most of its sediment in a fan-shaped mound called alluvial fan. Alluvial fans are common in many arid and semi-arid mountainous regions. A delta forms where a stream flows abruptly when it enters the still water of a lake or ocean. The sediment settles out to form a near flat landform called a delta. Deltas are commonly fan-shaped, resembling the Greek letter delta. Part of the delta lies above the water level and the remaining lies slightly below the water level. Streams found on the deltas are known as distributaries. For deltas to form, the rate of sediment deposition or accumulation has to exceed its rate of removal by waves and currents. A typical example is the Brahmaputra Delta, which is the world's largest delta, being more than 200 km in straight distance along the Bay of Bengal. The delta results from deposition of heavily silt-laden waters of the Ganges and the Brahmaputra rivers, transporting sediments from the Himalayas located far to the north. In a delta, the deposits grow towards the sea and the sediments are deposited as inclined layers known as foreset beds. Fine-grained sediments are deposited farther away from the shore and deeper in the sea to form bottom-set beds, whereas a thin layer of fine-grained sediments deposited on top of the foreset beds is known as top-set beds. There are 3 types of deltas. Number 1, arcuate delta forms when the river water has about the same density as that of the ocean or sea. Such deltas are usually in the shape of an inverted delta, with the Nile delta being the classical example. Number 2, bird's leg deltas. They form when the river water is less dense than that of the sea or ocean. Here, the river develops several channels beyond its mouth, along which it drops its load, leading to an overall shape similar to that of a bird's leg. Examples of this type include the Mississippi River Delta. Number 3, elongate deltas form where the river water is denser because of its load than the water in the lake, sea or ocean in which it is flowing. Here, the river water flows along the bottom of the sea as a turbidity current, depositing sediment in an elongated delta. The third type is floodplains. Quite often, during the mature and old stages and following periods of very heavy and or continuous rainfall, the discharge of a river increases to a point where the channel can no longer hold all its water. At this point, water rises over the banks of the river and covers the adjacent low-lying land. This process is known as flooding and could be disastrous to human activity or property in such areas. Floods occur periodically and can be to some extent predicted on statistical basis. The flat areas covered by a river during floods are known as the floodplains of the river. Floodplains have great importance in agriculture. The river provides water that supports farming, usually with the aid of irrigation channels. Each time a flood occurs, sediment is deposited on the floodplain, particularly on the banks of the river, whereas silt and clay are deposited some distance from the main channel on the floodplain. The coarser load is dropped on the banks of the river, piling up to form features referred to as levees. These natural levees are left behind after the flood is over and when the water level drops. River terraces are areas of flat land located on either side of the floodplain, which are raised above the floodplain. These river terraces used to be the floodplain, but the river has cut down deeper and formed a new floodplain at a lower level. River terraces develop as a result of rejuvenation of a mature or old river, where the gradient of that river suddenly increases due to rapid uplift or some tectonic activity. As a result of this rejuvenation, the river acquires more energy and downcuts its own channel or floodplain by increased vertical erosion. If sedimentation and erosion are repeated again and again, several steps of a river terraces can be formed. Repeated rejuvenation results in the formation of a river terraces, the oldest of which is at the highest point. Now we look at the practical applications of river transport. Sediment transport is applied to solve many environmental, geotechnical and geological problems. Measuring or quantifying sediment transport or erosion is therefore important for coastal engineering. Movement of sediment is important in providing habitat for fish and other organisms in the rivers. Therefore, in sediment-starved areas such as dams, it is often advised to perform short floods to refresh the bed materials and rebuild bars. Sediment discharge into a river formed by a dam forms a reservoir delta. This delta will fill the basin and eventually either the reservoir will need to be dredged or the dam will need to be removed. Knowledge of sediment transport can be used to properly plan to extend the life of a dam. Geologists can use transport relationships to understand flow depth, velocity and direction by studying the sedimentary rocks and young deposits of alluvial materials. When suspended sediment transport is increased due to human activities causing environmental problems, including the filling of channels, it is called as siltation.